You were so freaking amazing, dude. Oh my god, all the stuff you did, it was awesome! What's going on there, friends and neighbors? I am Rob Reviews, and I am talking about Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, finally! Yes! Godzilla Planet of the Monsters dropped at 3 a.m. on Netflix. I stayed up solely to see this as it dropped and to make this video to have it up nice and early for anybody wondering. And I gotta say, this movie was pretty dang good, but it has its faults. So as you can see from the title down below, yes, I am going to be talking about spoilers. But don't worry, this is how the layout of this video is going to work. At the beginning, I'm going to give a very, very tiny summary, not giving anything away, basic information that you already know. Then a time card is going to show up saying, hey, this is the spoiler section, skip to this time down here. And then the last part of the video is going to be my closing statements with no spoilers. So without further ado, let's get started. So as we all know by now, Godzilla Planet of the Monsters takes place really, really far into the future, which is something that already had me interested in the movie aside from it being a Godzilla flick, because we've never seen a Godzilla story take place this far into the future. And I find it very interesting how the film was handled by being in the future. All of the humans are on this giant spaceship drifting through space, and they've been doing this for about 20 years, going from planet to planet, failure after failure, with rations running really, really low, and people dying, getting sick, and all that happy stuff. Doing this for 20 years is getting really, really old for everybody aboard this spaceship, not just the humans, but the aliens. The humans are joined by an alien race that are very much human-looking themselves, aside from their weird ears and them just being incredibly tall. They basically came to Earth and said, yo, share your planet with us, and we'll help you out with your problem. Well, things didn't go so well, and that's why we're all in space dying and being sad and stuff. Earth is a no-go zone. Every planet they reach is dead. Gorilla's reference. And after a crippling loss of man at the very beginning of the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. Holy crap, what a way to open this up. It is decided, alright boys, alright goyles, it's time to go back down to Earth, kick some kaiju butt, and take back our planet. Oh boy, the amount of things that happen in this movie, ooh, it's just so fantastic. The supreme sci-fi twinge to a Godzilla story is handled so very well in this movie. I got so many Prometheus and Alien Covenant feels seeing these ships land on Earth and all that, and the tech, oh man, the tech in this movie is fantastic. It feels like a movie that takes place in the future, and we get to see Godzilla in the future, and it's freaking awesome, dude. The characters, though. I remember one character. That's the main character, and the only reason why I remember him is because his name is Sakaki. He says bastard a lot, and he has this really weird hate-revenge boner for Godzilla. The rest of the characters, I honestly couldn't tell you their names. Barely any of them had any time to be developed in this 1 hour and 30-minute long movie, and that is probably the weakest part of this movie. Other than that, the monster battles were fantastic. The opening sequence, basically filling you in on everything that's been going down since the humans left Earth, was fantastic. A lot of great cameos up in there. I gotta be honest, despite the characters being here nor there, everything that I was hoping would be good was very, very good. And the very good includes the music. When I first got the soundtrack from Tom, I really didn't like the soundtrack too much. It kind of just all molded together and it felt very pale and washed out. It didn't have any life to it. But now that I've seen the movie with the soundtrack backing it, I know what the soundtrack is meant for. I know what specific songs are meant for specific scenes, and it all makes sense. So at least now I can say I can give the soundtrack a much higher rating. Granted, I'm not going to be listening to this movie's soundtrack as much as I was listening to Shin Gojira's soundtrack, because despite what you think and say about Shin Gojira, even you have to admit, the music was pretty darn bomb, boy. But I will say this, and this is not a spoiler. My thoughts and opinions on this movie are extremely, extremely favorable. But anyway, let's start getting into spoilers right about now. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to spoilers, let's talk about the main opening scene. So we're already on the spaceship at this point. We're introduced to the humans, we're introduced to the aliens, and their alien race starts with an X. I honestly can't remember. I can't find the name online anywhere. They're living in harmony, I guess you could say, on this spaceship. Shizzle is not going too well, and it's not getting any better for our main character, Sakaki. He attempts to hijack a spaceship until the main crew of the spaceship intervene. Now, the main reason why he is doing this is because they have found a new planet, but they're not 100% sure on if its atmosphere is safe enough. And the volunteers going there are mostly all of the elderly people, including Sakaki's grandfather, the only remaining member of his family. Sakaki's mother and father were roasted to a cinder by Godzilla via bus. Really sad. So Sakaki's grandfather begs him, listen, don't do anything stupid. If I die, I want to die on solid soil, not here up in space. So Sakaki eventually just, he lets it go. He's detained by his superiors, and in his jail cell, he watched as his grandfather's ship, along with all the elderly people, make way onto the planet. Unfortunately, and this is how the movie opens, the ship blows up right in front of him, and Sakaki's revenge and anger only gets worse. Now, when I said earlier that the characters weren't really all too well fleshed out, they really weren't, but when it comes to Sakaki, he has a purpose. It's just a very bare bones purpose. It's like, we get it. You hate Godzilla. He robbed you of your parents. It's very been there, done that, especially when it comes to anime. But after that scene happens, Sakaki starts monologuing, telling and showing all the crap that went down before the movie started. And it is here you will see cameos of some of your favorite kaiju, like Kamakuris, Orga, few others I will leave for you to find out, because they're pretty darn cool. And that's when the title card shoots on the screen. So from that point, it's just a lot of dialogue. They're trying to flesh these characters out in the time frame that they were given. And plus, this was originally supposed to be a TV show from what I've read, so this was probably like the very first 3, maybe 4 episodes of what would have been the first half of season 1 of this show. So for them to really just combine everything into an hour and 30-minute movie, I guess I can give this a little bit of leeway, but seriously, when it comes to the characters, they are very replaceable, interchangeable, and not all too well developed. The really interesting stuff doesn't really happen until everybody lands on Earth. Now, granted, the entire spaceship does not go to Earth. A team of 600 people go to Earth, both human and of this alien race. Now, this scene, I feel, is somewhat important. I don't know why, but it feels important to me. After they land, they all split off into their different groups A through E, and, they all have their different purposes and such. You have the special forces, you have the scientists and everything. And there's this one scene where this scientist is about to touch a leaf, and another scientist is like, don't touch that, and his little scalpel thing snaps in half on one of these leaves. These leaves are extremely, extremely, extremely sharp and very, very rough. Kinda like a specific monster's hide and dorsal plates. And another reason why I wanted to point this scene out is because as this is all happening, you see something in the background. It looks like a helmet of one of the soldiers that is down there, but it's not. It's somebody wearing a mask, and then that person completely disappears for the rest of the movie until after credit scene. Yes, there's an after credit scene. So then after that, everything's all hunky-dory. It's like, oh yeah, we're not seeing anything. And then the boy shows up. Not Godzilla. Servum. Now, as we all knew, Servum is not just one monster. He, she, it is many monsters. And they basically attack the human camp mercilessly. People are getting eaten. People are getting knocked around. These Servum beings go down pretty easily. But since there's so many of them, they do lose a lot of humans in this battle. After that, the scientist is cutting off a piece of Servum's tooth and everything. They analyze it, and they essentially say he's not part of Godzilla, but he might be from the same family. I actually think announcing that this Godzilla is the biggest Godzilla ever, like 500 meters or something like that, I don't actually think that was a smart move on Toho and Polygon Pictures' part, mainly due to you've like right away noticed that this Godzilla is small. He doesn't look 500 meters, but I'll get into that in a second. The first battle with Godzilla is high octane. It's awesome. It's a little short, but it's a lot of freaking fun. It's the second fight with Godzilla where you get to see the capabilities of the vehicles, the tech, the tanks, these hover bikes, whatever they called them. A lot of really cool scenes, and the people on the hover bikes were doing their Tokyo drifting in the air, doing this tactical maneuver to get Godzilla's attention away from what was going down on the ground. and it was all very well orchestrated, and it reminded me a lot of Attack on Titan. Now, people are dying left and right. Godzilla's shooting his atomic breath. Oh yeah, Godzilla does not spit his atomic breath from his nostrils. From what I've seen from the movie, it looks like, yeah, he's shooting it far away from his face, but Godzilla has somewhat of a magnetic shield that his dorsal plate emits every now and then. And I feel like since he charges that shit up from his dorsal plates, he's not actually firing it straight from his mouth, but from the shield close to his mouth, since his dorsal plates do emanate this electromagnetic shield. So maybe that's what's going on. Obviously, it's meant to show, yeah, he's firing it from his mouth, but since there's that space, a lot of people thought it was thrown from his nose. I think it's just the clashing of the shield and everything just firing it off. I don't know why I went into detail explaining that. He shoots it out of his mouth. Be happy. So people are dying left and right. This plan that the main character has seems to be working, even though there's a lot of death going on. The Servum creatures attack again, and I saw that coming too, just because you saw the Servum creatures once before that. And considering how this guy has a name, and he has a Bandai figure and a plush toy and such, I knew that they would show up more than once in the film. It's just kind of common knowledge at that point. They attack the humans, they put a little dent in their plan, but the plan does eventually go back on track. They're planning on diverting Godzilla to this patch of land that they burnt down when they first landed, so they can collapse these big mountains around him, hold him in place, so they can attack his dorsal plates, break his shield, inject a whole bunch of EMPs into his body, therefore destroying him from the inside. And that's what happens. And the scene leading up to this happening is really, really awesome. It has a lot of great tension to it. Godzilla blows up. Here's an interesting thing though. When he blows up, it's not guts, it's not chunks of skin that's falling or anything. It looks like splinters. It looks like tree life. So yeah, I guess that Godzilla was based around plant life. How? I have no friggin' idea. So everybody's happy and they're cheering. They're like, yeah, we did it! Oh, why? So the main character and a sub-character are sitting down and they're like, oh man, we did it. Oh boy, this is awesome, yeah. And the sub-character says, it amazes me that Godzilla's appearance didn't change at all. Maybe there was more than one. Main character Sakaki is like, nah, no way. This one had the same exact readings, layouts, and powers of the Godzilla we saw when we left Earth. No way. Earthquake. Earthquake is being scanned by a scientist and it is saying that it's 1,000 times bigger, 1,000,000 times bigger, some giant number bigger than the Godzilla that they just faced. The mountain in the background starts moving and yes, 500-meter large Godzilla arises. So technically, you don't see the real Godzilla until the very end of the movie. But thankfully, it's not like you don't see him do shizzle. He does a lot of damage and he really screws up the humans' plans and happiness. Good job, buddy. So everything essentially comes crashing down, burning and everything, and that ends the movie. We get the credits and then we get the after credits scene of the masked woman that I mentioned before in this cave taking care of our main character, Sakaki. She takes off her mask, she has green eyes, different colored skin, and she just says, oh. And that's it. That's the movie. Well, wasn't that nutty? All them spoilers and such? A lot of crazy stuff happened in this movie. I'm just going to say this again. The weakest part about this movie is the characters and their development. There's slim to none of any development for any of the other characters aside from Sakaki, and even his character development wasn't anything to write home about. So the movie essentially banks on a lot of explaining and a lot of dialogue, which I found interesting for the most part, and human versus monster battles. And thankfully, both of those two things really saved this flick. They really did. Now, going into this movie, I had a set bar of expectations. I had it a little bit above average. But at some point while waiting for this movie, we found out that this was originally supposed to be an anime show, not a movie. It was due to Toho not being able to make any live-action Godzilla movies that this was eventually converted into a movie. So I feel like that happened very last minute for this team, and they were really working to try and squeeze as much into this hour and 30-minute movie that they could, and I think they did a pretty good job just with the character development falling short and the characters being kinda bland. But thankfully, with our new Godzilla, Earth Goji, Goji Earth, Godzilla Earth, whatever he's called, something along those lines. He did a lot of damage in this movie, all across his time on screen. He was messing stuff up and he was making things hard for these humans, and I was superbly happy with that. I would like to see a little bit more of Servum though. But overall, I enjoyed myself. That hour and 30 minutes flew on by so very quickly. I was interested in the story. I was interested in the dialogue being spoken. The characters fell short, but the monster action and the sci-fi goodness from this flick completely made up for it. I'm going to give Godzilla Planet of the Monsters a 4.5 out of 5. It's just that character development, man. If they had just given the characters a little bit more time to interact with each other, maybe added another 20 more minutes to this movie, I think this movie would have been a total 5. But at a 4.5 out of 5 for the very first anime Godzilla film ever, I think that's pretty darn good. So anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions on Godzilla Monster Planet, Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, Gojira Kaiju Wakse. What are your thoughts and opinions on it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was okay? Did you think it was meh? Did you like Godzilla? Did you not like Godzilla? Anything at all, comment down below and tell me. Wow, I can't believe the day was finally here. Just came and went, just like that. Just like that. Now we've got 2 more to wait for, and I cannot wait for the second one. But anyway, everybody, I've been Rob Reviews. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thoughts and comments down below, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.